Oh, well, happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to another Logic Live. I'm very excited because this is the second consecutive Logic Live where there's been what they're now calling an atmospheric river. If you remember last week, there was thunder that was so intense we all cringed live. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens today. We'll just leave it in the hands of the gods. So nice to see everybody. Valentine, hello. BJ, hello. Jeff, Kyle, it is happening. I hope the levels are good. David Kreitz, how are you? Oh my goodness, wait. Is that Timothy Miller I see? Good to see you, brother. Welcome to Logic Live. I'm so excited today. This is Logic Live 117, the latest plugins from Revision Effects. There's Carlos Campos, and I think we're about to... That was it. I got to get used to this new sound, this new music track and the timing of it. Hello, everybody. My name is Andy. Welcome to Logic Live number 117. Let's get rolling with the slideshow, which will hopefully not be frozen this week. That was our first adventure last week. But this episode of Logic Live is brought to you by AJA, together with Flame since 2006. And Hotspring, the future of VFX outsourcing. Hotspring connects you to great artists to get your projects done, making it easier than ever to access the best talent around the world. If you need any help with your projects, reach out to our friends at Hotspring at www.thehotspring.com. And if you're looking for anything from our friends at Boris Effects, you can be sure to use the Logic.tv discount code to save 15% on any Boris Effects product, standalone or subscription, when you use the code Logic-2023 at checkout. And speaking of checking things out, take a few minutes during these hot summer days, especially if we go off the air because of the storm that's going on, and check out the Logic merch store. We have all kinds of great stuff. If you're one of those people who can't get through beach season without a fanny pack, I implore you to check out the Logic.tv fanny pack. Thank you for supporting everything we do at Logic. Speaking of thanking people for supporting Logic, I want to thank all of our patrons who support what we do via Patreon. The list is amazing. We literally could not do what we do without your support. We want to thank our 164 patrons for making Logic and the forums and Discord and Logic Live possible. We love doing this and we love sharing everything with the community. So if you'd like to support what we're doing with Logic, get access to a challenge coin for becoming a patron and access to exclusive content like the Q&As that we do on Zoom after the show. Head on over to patreon.com/LogicTV and become a patron today. If you haven't checked out the forum, please do. It's where everything is happening. I want to thank Randy McEntee for all the work he does in setting up the forum, maintaining the forum. There have been some great threads on there. There was a thread just the other day about someone had a very tricky flicker situation going on in one of their shots, and so that timing couldn't have been better for what we're going to talk about today. Also, be sure to check out the Logic.tv Discord for live chat and screen sharing. It's a wonderful place to get questions answered, especially if you're in a bind. Our friend Finn Yeager is on there, I think, 23 hours a day. If he has one button, and if you want to push it, just say, "Hey Finn, I'm having trouble with color science," or "Can you recommend a good monitor?" And I guarantee you, you will get the conversation of your life. So that's the Logic.tv Discord. Please check it out at forum.logic.tv. It's all free to sign up. Want to just remind everybody of our latest offerings from Logic Academy. They are Connect and Conform, the Image Node. Those are both multi-part videos or series from our friend Jeff Kyle. Intro to NDI and 8-Minute Aces from Randy McEntee. I did a little one called Beauty Techniques in Flame. Randy did a couple more. There was one all about setting up the machine learning time warp that was gifted to the community from our friend Andre Toloshny. Randy also has a video that actually got some comments this week, setting up my first Linux Flame, people who were setting up their first Linux Flame and loved the video. He also did one on the Logic portal, which is a gift to us from our friend Mike Vaglianti, excuse me, and that's where we set up all the common Logic Python scripts, and there are some great batch setups. Like I think Renee's amazing object obliterator setup is on there. It's free to install on your Flame, Mac, or Linux, so definitely do that. And then we had a two-parter from our friend Sinan on the particle system and intro to Matchbox shaders from Graziella. These are all available for free at youtube.com/LogicTV. And we want to thank our friends at Autodesk for supporting Logik Academy and helping us get those videos to you. Speaking of our friends at Autodesk, Flame 2024 is out. If you haven't upgraded, please do. There are some amazing new updates and, of course, bug fixes. But our good friend Jeff Kyle made the Flame Learning Channel content showing off all the new features in 2024. I just reviewed his series on the improvements to batch paint this last week because I was doing a new beauty job and wanted to try kind of the new auto paint, where you can track paint strokes. And so that was invaluable. Thank you, Jeffrey, for that. And yeah, all that stuff is available on the Flame Learning Channel. There's an address down at the bottom there, youtube.com/AutodeskFlame. So check that out when you can. All right. Well, Jeff, the slideshow worked, so we can cross that one off the list. There'll be something else that'll fail later today, I'm sure. I'm very looking forward to it. But I met the team from Revision FX at NAB, and I was so happy to hear that they wanted to come on to Logik Live. I personally have been using Twixtor and Real Smart Motion Blur for almost my entire career, and they're both essential parts of my workflow. And what I love about shows like this is the chance to learn new ways to use the tools that I have, to extract more value out of the tools that I currently own, and then of course to learn about new tools that can help make me more creative, more efficient, and then ultimately more profitable. So joining me today are so far 2 members of the Revision FX team, and they're both Flame Loyalty, okay? Flame Loyalty, Flame Royalty. I'm so excited about this. We have Lori Freitag, who is the Training and Content Manager at Revision FX, and she was the OG Flame trainer from 1993 to 1997 before freelancing for many, many years after that. Hello, Lori. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks.
And then we have Pierre, Jasmin, who's the co-founder of Revision FX, who is a member of the original Flame dev team from 1992 to 1994, which means he knows where all of the skeletons are buried. How are you doing there, Pierre?
I'm good.
Excellent. And there's a third member of the team, Sebastian Bugna, who we're having some connectivity issues today. So he's going to try to join in later in the broadcast. But we have his presentation pre-recorded, so we'll be able to show that after Lori does her thing. So we're going to start off with Lori, who's going to take us through some of the offerings from Revision FX. And I just wanted to remind everybody, oh, wait, hold on, Lori. We have Maury here from LA, who says that you trained him all those years ago. So we're doing Jeff. Look what we're doing here live, Logik Live. We're making beautiful reconnections.
Of course, I remember Maury, and I think he even lives in my neighborhood.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know. I think I may have seen him by chance, off like walking around or something.
Excellent.
I'm sure there's a few people out there that I trained a million years ago.
Awesome.
A couple came up to me at NAB this year, in fact.
That's great. Well, hopefully we'll see them here in the conversation, or we'll see them in the patrons chat afterwards. Usually Maury's in the patrons chat afterwards. So I'm going to bring up, or before I bring up your screen, Lori, why don't you take us through what you're going to show off today?
Did you say, I'm sorry, did you say before I?
Before I just brought up your screen, I figured I.
Oh, okay. So I was going to give a little overview on the company, and then I'm going to show the, let's see, I'm going to show Twixtor, Real Smart Motion Blur, deflicker, rematch, and ResUp. And then we're going to see a little bit of Real Smart Motion Blur Pro and remap in Sebastian's presentation. But cool. I'll get into all that with the OFX plugins and everything. That's part of my intro.
Love it. Well, let me bring up your screen. And just again, a reminder to anybody, if you have questions, please put them in the chat and I'll keep track of them. And we'll ask Lori and Pierre towards the end of the presentation. So Lori, I got your screen up there.
Oh, okay, great. Let me just go to Flame. Are we good there? Yeah. Can you see my screen?
All good. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to give you just a quick intro to what we do. And so I'm just going to play this in the background. Okay, so with 25 years of experience, we've been around 25 years. So we've been creating plugins that long, and revision effects tools have become essential for professionals who create television content, movies, commercials, station IDs, and live event programming. And our plugins offer consistent and exceptional results across more than 20 editing, visual effects, and compositing applications. And then what sets us apart is our flexibility. So our users can easily transfer licenses between almost any certified application. So I am a bit rusty on Flame since I haven't worked on it in many years, but I'm excited to be working on it again and also to be here with all of you today. So just bear with me if I fumble around a bit.
You're in good hands. Trust us. This is a very
Okay,
supportive group. Just want to
we're
remind
going.
everybody that we're a very supportive group. Okay.
All right, I'm going to put up a little chart and show you the different plugins that we're going to see today. So now I have a visual to go with what I was saying. So before we had OFX support, we only had Real Smart Motion Blur and Twixtor, and they were Sparks. And since they're no longer in existence, we now have the OFX plugins, and we have a lot more. So we have Deflicker, we have Denoise, Real Smart Motion Blur, Relens, Rematch, Remap, ResUp, and Twixtor. And we're going to see most of these today, not all of them, but you'll get a good feel for what is available to you now. And just a quick overview on how to use each of these, because they are different in Flame as opposed to some of the other applications. So we do have tutorials and things for that as well. But I'm going to give you a brief overview. And we're going to start with the fact that you can work on the timeline for some of the plugins if you only need one input, and then batch if you need multiple inputs, or if you need to cascade some of the effects, which we'll see an example of in a minute. So I'm going to start here with Deflicker and take a look at this shot here. So this was shot on a GoPro 10 at 240 frames per second, and it's a really good example of a common issue that happens with artificial lighting. So if the lights are pulsing, the lights can be pulsing with alternating current at the power source, and the pulsing can get out of phase if we're shooting high-speed footage. So we're going to see how how Deflicker can get rid of that. And as Andy mentioned, I also saw that on the forum that you guys were discussing different deflickering tools. So this is a good opportunity to see our Deflicker and what's available to you here. So what we're going to do is on the desktop, we can go to the effects ribbon and add an OFX node, and then double click on that. And you can see here we have 4 different deflickering options. So each of these is addressing a different issue that can occur. So we have auto levels, we have high speed, rolling bands, and time lapse. So you would use whichever one addresses the issue you're having. In this case, we're going to see the high speed plugin. So here are the controls, and basically we have a time window. I'm going to leave it at the default settings so you can see how the default settings work really well, but we also have other controls so you can do plenty of tweaking as well. The time window is by default set to 2, and that's going to compare two adjacent frames on either side of the current frame. And then what we do is we pick a method. So if I turn this off and I you can forward through the frames, you can see that the flickering is on 2s. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2. So for that reason, we're going to choose this alternate period 2. And if I turn that back on and play it, you can see we've actually just got rid of the flicker, and I can show you a quick side-by-side as well. So that's the before and after. So just with the default settings, we get. Oh yes, thank you very much.
I told you it was a supportive community. I told you had nothing to worry about. Listen to the
So
crowd.
many applause. I love it. Okay, so now we're gonna go. Obviously, we have not only did we have we had a lot of controls that you can also adjust if you didn't get it right away with the default settings. And now we're gonna go check out one that you guys might be familiar with, which is Twixtor. And Twixtor's our retiming plugin, and it intelligently slows down, speeds up, and changes the frame rate. And it uses optical flow, and you guys are probably mostly familiar with Twixtor. So I'll just play this example through a little because it's a pretty cool example, one of my favorites. And then we'll jump into batch. And what I'm going to do in batch is I'm going to cascade several effects, several of our plugins together, so you can get a quick overview of each of them. So we're going to start here. This is just a shot that I shot this in New York a few months ago. It's a 5 boroughs bike ride, but we're just going to speed it up and slow it down using Twixtor. And we'll do that in batch. And so we're just going to we'll go to the FX nodes, and we'll add an open effects node. And we'll just attach that here. And go to the library and add Twixtor. Okay, so if you've ever used Twixtor, this display will be familiar. We have the controls. So we have Twixtor to output, so you can see the result. And we can change the speed using frame number or speed percentage. And in this case, we're going to use speed percentage, and I'll just set some keyframes. So we're going to just put that on 2 up, and we can start with here at 100%. And then we can just move forward, make it 50. Oh wait, one thing I forgot to mention. So because we're going to slow this down, we need to extend the timeline, because we're going to extend the clip, but we're also going to speed it up. So we don't really need to extend it too much. And then we can always go in and alter that number if we've gone a little overboard. If we've overcompensated or undercompensated, I'm just going to add 100 frames. And if we might need to adjust that later. But we're going to go ahead and make this 50%. So we slow it down. And then we'll go in here and make the interpolation linear and extrapolation leave on constant. And let's see. So we can move forward a little bit more and just add another keyframe. Make that 50. And maybe speed it up. So I'm just throwing in some speed ups and slowdowns. And we can hold that. And maybe go back down to half speed, just to give you an idea. It's pretty easy to use it. And I could do a little preview, or I actually did render something out. Here it gives you an example. So it slows down, speeds up, slows back down. Okay, I'll turn that auto key off. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add another plugin. So we're going to move forward. We can always come back to Twixtor if anyone has any questions. Um, so we're going to add another effects node. And let's see. So now we're going to add Real Smart Motion Blur. Now, Real Smart Motion Blur has the ability to, and I'm gonna zoom in on this a little bit. We can add a variable amount of blur, and we can do it really easily. We just go to the blur amount and adjust it. You can see we can also remove blur if we go negative, so essentially sharpens it. And
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, you can go negative and get sharpening.
Oh, I had no idea. Oh, that's great. This is exactly what I said meant at the top of the show. You know, like I've been using this for, I don't know, 18 or 20 years. I had no idea that that was an option. Love it. Would you mind just zooming in a little bit closer on the window of the result there? Yeah.
Okay.
I know everybody's curious to see the results, especially in like the spokes of the wheels or where people cross over. You know, anything where optical flow might.
Well, one thing I want to mention
Produce
is how Real Smart Motion Blur, it doesn't just apply an overall blur, it analyzes every pixel on every frame. So, for instance, he's not moving, so there's no blur. And, you know, based on how fast they're going, you can see there's different amounts of blur. And, you know, you can get a really good, really very realistic blur. That's why pretty much everybody uses Real Smart Motion Blur, because it's super easy to use and it's really good and it's fast, and you know, you don't have a lot of controls until you get into Real Smart Motion Blur Pro, which you're going to see even more controls and more things that you can do when you see Sebastian's little overview in a minute. But this is the basics of Real Smart Motion Blur, and also it's really good for live action, but also great for various kinds of CG and stop motion animation and hand drawn animation. It's just a really good all around plugin, and I think a lot of people are pretty familiar with it. So that's Twixtor Real Smart Motion Blur, and we're going to add one more to this little group here. So I'm going to add one more effects node now here. And let's see, so we're going to add that. And now we're going to go ahead and add rematch. So some of you might not be as familiar with this one, but we have 3 plugins here for rematch: Color Basic, Color Plus, and Rematch Stereo. And we're going to look at Color Plus. We just want to do a quick, we want to get this shot, we want to color correct it and get it into this kind of desaturated color scheme here. So we're going to use this shot as our reference. And let me just get this a little more in frame here so you can see it. And so we're going to attach it to the reference. And so Rematch was designed, it's a set of plugins that was designed for matching, doing a quick match of one frame of video or film to another, just to get it, you know, get a good overall match for this. And we can use reference like that. So once I'm inside, you can see, well, I have the display on result, and I can match using keyframes. I can bypass it, or I can do every frame. So I'm going to do an overall match, and I'm going to use, then we pick the transfer mode. So I'm going to use histogram lab. So you see, we just quickly got a really good, we went from here to here, matching this as our reference, and really quickly can get in the ballpark. So it's a really nice tool to use. Here's a little, I kind of did a render of the result.
A pre-made lasagna, as it were.
What's that?
Are they pre-made lasagna that is in the oven?
I'm taking it out of the oven.
Yeah.
been baking for an hour. No, only it doesn't take that long, but it's quicker than watching the grass grow while I preview it or render it. So this is with Real Smart Motion Blur, Twixtor, and Rematch. And you'll see it might freeze at the end where so right there, I overcompensated the timing a little bit, so I can just
Mhm.
go back and change the output 7 to 482. So that's Twixtor, Real Smart Motion Blur, and Rematch. And now we're going to see one
Nice.
more here. Trying to get as many in as I can.
No,
A
it's doing great.
quick overview of each. So now we're moving on to ResUp, which is it's our newest plugin, and let me just add another OFX node here, and that connected. So we have ResUp Enhance, and we have ResUp Resize. Resize will allow you to upscale without any loss of quality, and enhances to increase the resolution without any temporal artifacts. So we're gonna use resize because we want to take this 1920 by 1080 we want to make it 4K. But we get this warning message because Flame doesn't like.
Because flame.
It's because of Flame. It's all Flame's fault, but it doesn't like when we use different input resolutions of different sizes. So different. So what we're going to do is a little workaround. So this part gets slightly confusing because in Flame it's called in the format you have resize here. So we're going to put a resize in before the ResUp resize. And we're just going to go over here to the destination, and we're going to select, this is what we want our output to be. So we want 3840 by 2160, but we're not going to do the resizing per se with the resize
Oh, I
node.
see.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
see.
it's just confusing because it's called resize
It
and ours is also called resize. So we're just basically making a canvas like this
right. So
with the
res
footage
up uh, res up is expecting an input
is
that
the
has the
same
canvas
size.
resolution of what you ultimately want the target to be, right?
Exactly.
Cool.
So our canvas is 3840 by 2160 now, and we're feeding that into our ResUp resize plugin, which will then allow us to use ResUp to do the scaling. And so we can use our filtering, which is what I'm going to show you in a sec. Let me just scale that up and you'll see. Okay, so we're going to zoom in on that since you love your zoom ins.
Oh yeah. You picked a
So
great like piece of demo footage too, with all the little bricks and like the
yeah,
even like the white type like Chelsea Market against the black background. These are things that would give away.
I know.
You'd see it
Well,
in the edges. You'd see all the.
and you see, I made a little theme. I don't know if anybody picked up on it, but I did the bike ride in New York, and I was like, you're all in New York, so
Love it
I
was
was.
not lost on us.
So this linear is basically using whatever the host applications transform tools are. So that's basically Flame, and then we have some of these other ones. SuperRes and SuperRes Edge Smoothing use AI, and you're gonna see when we do that, we get a couple more.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna even make it better because we have a few more menus that come up when we get to those filters. So we have enhance and deconvolve. So I'm just gonna show you even more comparison here. Wait, we can go a tiny bit more. Let's go a little more, and then we can do a comparison. But we also have some pre-filtering that we can do. So if we get really noisy or really soft footage that we're dealing with, we can do the pre-filtering as well. So if you compare now the linear,
Mm-hmm.
oops,
Oh yeah, zoom in as tight
if
as
we
you
go
can.
linear and then super res, let's just go
Wow.
there. That might be just, maybe we'll go a little less, 1.0. So we have, again, linear and super res.
This is really like living in the future because I grew up, as we all did, watching like movies and TV shows where there'd be some like, security footage or there'd be some, satellite footage. And the person in charge would always ask the tech to please zoom in and enhance, and now it's actually happening.
Exactly. And it's really getting really good results too. It's pretty amazing. But there's always, you can always download and try all these for free.
Excellent.
We have demo versions. I'll show you where to get those. Actually, we're about to jump over to that. Oh no, I do that at the end, I think. So yeah, that's really my little overview on those plugins. But we have one more thing I want to show back on the timeline, which is uh, it's a new product that we have in our lineup. It's called Autograph. It's not flame related, but it's a great application designed for motion design, visual effects, 2D, 3D compositing, and we're actually the worldwide distributors for Autograph. That's the name of the software by Left Angle. And I wanted to just show you all a little glimpse of its capabilities. And you could perhaps run it on a laptop alongside your Flame to do some of the tasks. So here's a quick little, I've got to make it a little bit smaller because it has some writing that hits the play button, but you'll see just a quick overview.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice.
All right, so
Um,
that's a quick, just a quick little bit on Autograph 2, and it's definitely worth checking out. So now we're going to go, you can introduce
sure. Well,
Sebastian's
before we,
little,
you know, before we do that, I wanted to just bring Pierre in because, and then actually Sebastian is here.
I don't,
Let me
I don't
see.
see him.
Oh, 1 second. There it is.
Okay.
Hey,
hey,
hold on for 1 sec. Let me just do this. I've broken my own rule and I just blew up my preset, but that's okay. It's a live show, and as I believe I've said, this is a very supportive community.
well, I'm glad it
Um,
went wrong with you and not me.
But thank you. No, I appreciate that. There were just a couple of questions about Twixtor that I wanted to throw in, just because we just finished talking about it, and then a couple of comments about ResUp. The Twixtor one was from our friend George, who was wondering about using Twixtor with mats. Can you feed a mat into Twixtor and get the same
Yeah,
uh,
we
speed
actually
result?
want Yes, you actually want to do that sometimes. Uh, if you have a good map of someone moving fast, it will help a lot Twixter. So
Twixter Pro.
yeah, but there's only Twixter Pro for Flame.
Okay,
Okay,
right.
cool.
Sorry.
All right, great. Yeah, because I
I
know
didn't
that
know
that's
that.
that's something that happened. Actually, I was talking with someone. It might have been Josh. I was talking with someone the other day about that. Someone who had to do a time warp on a. It was they were getting CG passes and they had to do a time warp on the fill and wanted to get the same time warp on the mat, but without the ability to feed a mat into the same node.
So you can also
You
do
know.
another thing, which is you can retime the map using the live action
Yes.
for calculate the optical flow.
Cool. 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 And then there was a bunch of great feedback about Res Up. We got AI resize and flame. Yum. You know, that's what all the kids are saying now. And we got a very cool. And Nick was wondering. I'm sorry, no, it was George again. Was wondering how Res Up works with small text or small logos. And I know we had.
So just a context. So the first mission is to be better than a Lanczos filter or something like that, right? For that's mission one, and also the way we tone down the default setup, it's supposed to always be as good as a Lanczos filter, right? That's our like threshold, right? And the small text thing like that shouldn't be a problem. The problem is when you get like about 4x of it stop to be as useful, right?
Yeah, it's
Like
it's inventing too many pixels, right?
yeah,
Or you get
be
temporal
careful. Yeah,
artifacts or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, no, it's not that
gotcha.
you get no benefit basically, right?
Oh, okay, I see.
Versus a normal resize, you just get extra compute time.
Oh, great. And we all have plenty of that lying around. One question from Michael that came in: does Twixtor apply its output to all the layers of a multi-channel EXR?
Not not directly because I don't think I have access. The- I don't know that Flame implements the suite for accessing the multi-channel.
Oh, okay,
But so the answer is no, right? We
gotcha.
could work on that, but I don't. You would have to break it into individual layers,
Oh,
a
right,
bit
sure,
related
sure,
to
sure. And
what
then,
Sebastian will show you after. Yeah.
well, Pierre, that is a perfect transition to what Sebastian. Thank you for that. It's almost like we rehearsed this, but I swear we didn't. Right now, we have a presentation from Sebastian. First of all, Sebastian, hello. How are you, my friend? Oh,
We
Mute.
can't hear
Lori,
you.
I did it again. I muted this. I'm 2 for 2. Okay, so now it's everybody else's chance. Everybody else needs to catch up and make a technical mistake. That way, I don't feel so special. How are you doing, Sebastian?
We'll let you keep them all.
Fine. Yeah, we are going to talk about remap. I'm going to show how to use remap and really smart motion blur in 3D workflows using cryptomats and
Perfect.
that's yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to roll that. This is a recorded presentation, but if you have questions along the way for everybody at home, please put them in the comments, and we'll get to them.
Sure.
We'll get to them right after the video. So, here we go.
Hi, I'm Sebastian from Revision Effects here, and the idea of this short demonstration is to create this composition in Flame and show you how to use some of the Revision Effects plugins when you are compositing 3D renders in Flame. So, before we start, let me show you that there is a more complete tutorial about this specific topic on our website called Remap, Cryptomat and Reusable 3D Renders in case you want to follow all of the minor details and all of the steps of this demo. You can watch this tutorial as well, okay? So let's go to Flame. Here you can see our final composition. We are using the Flame batch, and here we have the different 3D elements that we are going to use in our project and the different render passes or AOBs. And the idea of this project is, starting from our main beauty render pass, we want to replace the texture of this logo by this rock texture that we have here. And for that, we are going to use the Revision Effects plugin Remap UV. And then we are going to combine this result with the original beauty render, and as a final step we are going to add some motion blur effect to the animation using the Revision Effects plugin Real Smart Motion Blur. So let's start by creating a new batch here with the different elements and our 3D render passes. Here is our main beauty render that we are going to be working in this composition. Here we have our UV map AOV with the textures information. Then we have our motion vectors pass, a seed depth map that we are not going to use in this demo. And here we also have our rock texture image that we are going to use with Remap UV. Here we also have our crypto object pass that it's very useful to create custom and arbitrary masks based on the 3D objects on the 3D scene. So we don't see anything right now. If we click on the crypto object, we just get a black screen because we have to do some steps before in order to work with this node. So let's start by interpreting the crypto object, and to see the objects that this node has inside of it, we have to press Shift and C keys, and now you can see it has 3 objects inside of it. And then we have to create a new node under the key effects nodes. We create a crypto matte node, and we have to connect the main beauty render with this node, and then we have to connect one by one all of the inputs of the crypto object, the crypto matte node, with the outputs of the crypto object node. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, and once we are done, we can select the crypto matte node and start adding and selecting different objects from the 3D scene, like here the main text of the logo. We can also add the backlight of the logo and also the background. We are separating elements from the 3D scene, and here you can see the different 3D objects. We can assign different and custom output numbers to each of them, and here in the crypto matte node you will see each output of it will correspond to different 3D objects and different masks that we are going to need for our composition. We can also set different colors for each output, and that's basically how you should use the crypto object pass in Flame. Okay, let me make some room here for the next step. And we will proceed by changing the texture of this logo using the rock texture that we have here. And the first thing that we need to do is go to the effects node and create an effects and open effects node, and now we are going to load Revision Effects Remap UV plugin. So let's connect Remap UV with our media, and the main input of remap UV will be our UV map. So let's connect that. And then we get a red screen because we haven't connected the texture yet. So we are going to have to connect that with the second input of the remap UV node called texture. So we connect that, and now as you can see we still get a red warning from Flame, because in Flame when you use OpenFX nodes we have a limitation that both inputs have to have the same resolution, which is not the case here because we are using inputs with different resolution. So in order to work around this situation, we will have to apply a resize node to the texture that we are using. So we are going under the effects nodes, format, we are going to create a resize node and connect that with the rock texture image. So now if we press on the resize node, we can see it's doing a center crop of the original texture, and if we press the remap UV node, we can see that the texture it's already being replaced using the UV render pass information. But if you look at the result, the texture it's looking really big. So we need to tile the texture of the logo, and we are going to set like 15 times in the X and Y direction in remap UV. And now as you can see it looks much better. And finally we want to connect the alpha output of the UV map with the alpha input of the remap UV node. So now the texture is only applied on the logo. And then we are going to create a comp node from the effects nodes in the batch to combine the remap UV output with the original beauty render that we have. So we connect both sources, and then if we press the comp node, we are going to set an appropriate blending mode from the list, like spotlight, and now you can see the original beauty render is being combined with the rock texture as we want it. And then we are going to set some opacity here to make it look better and more integrated. And we also want to make this effect only affect the main logo, so for that we are going to use our Cryptomatte output. We are going to connect it with the alpha input of the comp node. We are getting this warning because we are just going from 32 bits to 16 bits. That's okay. And as a final step, we said that we wanted to add some motion blur effect to the animation. So for that we are going to use the Real Smart Motion Blur plugin. So we are going to create another effects and OpenFX node. Then we load revision effects, Real Smart Motion Blur. And now we have to connect the output of the comp node with the input of Real Smart Motion Blur. But in this case, let's change the plugin because we want to use instead here in the plugin tab, we are going to choose Real Smart Motion Blur Pro Vectors because we want to use the motion vectors render pass input of this plugin. So now we just have to connect the motion vectors with the motion vectors input of Real Smart Motion Blur, of course. And now we are getting a motion blur effect based on the motion vectors information from our 3D render pass. We are going to change to decrease the blur amount because it's too high, and that's it. So let's play and see the final result. And as you can see, the motion blur effect gave a more smooth and natural feeling to the animation, and we were also able to replace the original texture of the logo without having to go again to the 3D software and render again. So these are one of the main advantages of using our plugins when you are compositing 3D in Flame. So I hope you find this interesting for your own workflows, and thank you for your time.
Okay, are we back?
See, three. I muted myself and didn't bring myself back in. So I want to thank everybody for offering their thoughts and prayers, but clearly, like, pray harder. Um, I had a question for you before I got to Valentine's. The first question I had for you was about the motion vector pass that you're supplying to RealSmart.
Yeah.
Will that work with anybody's motion vector pass, or are the colors set like normalized to like Arnold motion vector
Yeah,
passes or something like that?
yeah. So Arnold has there's two different in Arnold. There's two different. There's a button. Uh, there's two different
Yeah.
motion vector output, right? So
Yeah.
ours are normalized right now to zero point 0.5 is 0.5, zero point 0.5 is zero, right? So it fits into a 16-bit image, something like that.
Yeah, there's a specific setting in Arnold because we did that with Maya and Arnold, and that option that Pierre is mentioning is called encode raw vectors. So we
Yeah.
have to uncheck that option, and then there is a specific setting about the rolling shutter of the scene to make real smart motion blur work accurately with the when you are compositing. But that's basically how to set up the motion vectors from Arnold or from whatever render engine you are using.
Okay. Is there some way to use the motion vectors that you get from a motion analysis in Flame? Because there's a motion analysis node that generates motion
I,
vectors that are
I, I
used
don't
like
know
within
the
action.
format, but yeah, I don't. I would have to look at that. Twister also has a vector generator, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so I don't know. I've never looked at Flame what Flame outputs. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wonderful. And so, just in case you needed like rock solid proof that this audience looks at every button and every node and everything, Valentine caught something in the recording that he had a question about, and that was why the use GPU setting was off. I guess that was with
With
RealSmart
mine
and maybe
too.
with yeah.
Well, in my case, it was just because it was a very like basic composition, and I used to turn GPU on when it's more demanding or a more complex project when you play and it's started to work slow, then you go to use your GPU.
Same.
But
Mine was basic too, so I didn't even bother. But of course, you
Told you
can
though.
use. I know. I saw that question. I was like, I could have just put it on for the.
Next question is from our friend Josh, who's wondering, can you use the vectors from Real Smart Motion Blur from motion vector stabilizing in Flame? I guess if you analyze motion vectors within Flame, you can use those to essentially you can stabilize an
I
image.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll look at what the format of the outputting motion vector right now. I have no idea.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Good question though. We
And
everyone who
you don't use the motion vectors from RSMB. You use the motion vector from Twixtor
uh
or
huh.
a 3D package, right? Just so we're clear. Yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful. Let's see if anybody else has any other questions. Otherwise, we'll keep moving along. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat. So before wow, it's already 5 of. That's amazing. This was again. It's like we rehearsed this. Before we go ahead and give away the prizes, I just wanted to see if there was anything else, Lori, that you wanted to share or.
I did actually. Just wanted to show. I mean, it's basic, just where our to go to our website to download and try any of the plugins for free. You can also go, let's see. So to go to revisioneffects.com, you can go to all the products. You can download any of them and try them. And then you can also find all of the tutorials here as well under the Learn option. So just wanted to put that out there in case anyone was wondering. And the other thing I wanted to mention, let me just go back to the desktop, just to follow us on all of our socials. So throw that out there if anyone wants to do a little screenshot or something, and follow us so they can get updates and see what's happening if we have any events or anything like that, or new software coming out, new plugins. And
Excellent.
I think that's about it, except for the prizes.
Well, I thought of one more question, and I'm thinking for all of the finishing artists out there, are the settings that you can save, like the setups for the OFX products, are they compatible across apps or across platforms? Like if someone, okay, well that answered my question. Yeah, I know it's very hard to do. Sometimes if you have an editor
There's
who's
no
working
standard right
Premiere.
now. There's no standard for effects right now. It's helping. We actually, it's a bit of. We're working with Auto.io and Resolve and other people as part of the academy, into thinking about ways to transport effects, right, and stuff like that. But that's a difficult process, right?
No, you're dependent on every host application to
Talk to each other.
to do something. Yeah, to talk to each other and be totally. Well, again, there's something else we can pray for in addition to my technical capabilities. Well, this is wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and give away our prizes. I want to thank, before that though, I want to thank Pierre and Lori and Sebastian for joining today, and they're going to join us over in the patrons chat in just a few minutes. But we have two prizes to give away today, courtesy of our friends at Revision Effects. The first is a $100 credit to actionvfx.com. We know them, we love them. They've been on the show before, so let me do this magic button. There we go. I think I have everybody's name in there. And
Can I license that wheel?
I would hope. I mean, right now it looks like it's brought to us by Constant Contact. Become the host with the most. I mean, this is what you get. Oh wait, we could report this as a bad ad. I don't want to be judgmental. No ads are bad. There are no bad ads, just bad people who make bad ads. So let me go ahead and shuffle this up, and we'll spin the wheel. Well, there it goes. And I think we are going to have Enrique. Congratulations, Enrique. All right. And then next up, we have the Affections collection from our friends here at Revision. It's everything that they make on the host platform of your choice. It's a $1,250 value. So I'm going to shuffle this one more time. And here we go. Luke! Congratulations, Luke. Congratulations, Luke. The audience is going crazy. They absolutely love this. They go for it every time. Again, I want to thank it's nothing if not fun. I want to thank the three of you very much. Why don't you guys take a break, and we'll meet you back over in Zoom in a couple minutes. I'm just going to close out the show with our slideshow and everything, but thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having us on.
Oh, of course.
Thank you.
All right. So let's go back to the slideshow, everybody. And we will continue, God willing, that the slideshow didn't crash on me. Yeah, so coming up next on Logic Live, we are off next weekend, but Sunday, July 30th at 2 p.m., we are doing the Summer of Flame 2023 with the Autodesk Dev Team, hosted by our good friend Jeff Kyle. And if you haven't signed up for the forum, please do. That's where it's all happening, at forum.logic.tv. And while you're there, join the conversation on the Logic Discord. This episode of Logic Live is going to join all of its cousins on Logic.tv later today. Whoop, I sped right past it. And it was crazy. There we go. We have a new episode of the Logic Podcast to drop this week. It's number 41, an interview with Steve Zweig, the man, the myth, the legend. We love him. He's a great flame artist out in the Midwest. And, of course, I want to thank Glenn and Amanda for all that they're doing to get the new podcast content out to y'all. If you haven't subscribed to the Logic YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Call your friends. Call your friends' friends. Let's try to get that number over 2K. That will make Randy happy. And we want to thank, of course, all of our patrons on Patreon for supporting Logic Live. We couldn't do what we do without you. Check out the merch store if you have a chance. And be sure to use the Logic discount code if you need anything from Boris Effects. Thank you to AJA for sponsoring Logic Live. And thank you to Hotspring, the future of VFX outsourcing. If you need help with any of your work, give Hotspring a shout at www.thehotspring.com. That's going to do it for Logic Live today, friends. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. And jumping on over to the Patrons chat now. Have a great week, everybody. Stay dry out there. And we'll see you next time.